Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. As you know, every week I try and find you uplifting, energizing, inspiring stories. And in the next 2 weeks, the focus is going to be on women over 50, the challenges that we experience every single day, the difference that other women our age are making to make life just a little bit easier for us to survive, for us to thrive, and be able to exist in this world with a tag of sanity. Now, when I went through the change, I experienced a lot of challenges. A lot of things didn't make any sense. My aches and pains, my trials and tribulations were dismissed. I went to so many doctor's appointments, and the woman who's coming on next is going to share what she did with her experience and how she's empowering everybody along the way. So welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Thank you, Gertrude. I really appreciate being invited to participate in today's episode. I relate to your experience in a huge way, and we can talk a little bit about what happened with me. So my name is Andrea Giancontieri. I'm 54 years old. While I'm a native New Yorker, I have lived in Massachusetts since 1989, and I reside west of Boston in a town called Southborough. I am the oldest of two children. My younger brother is profoundly intellectually disabled. He's nonverbal. He's autistic. He has physical disabilities, and he requires 24/7 care. And so when I was a kid at my house, it was all hands on deck. And my parents had to advocate for my brother so he could receive the care, treatment, and education he needed to reach his full potential. I learned from their example that advocacy isn't a choice, it's a responsibility. And their work, the work my family did, wasn't just for my brother, it was for all people with children who are atypical. And I carry those lessons forward and apply that legacy of advocacy to the menopause space. And I will share my experience, which usually is like people are like, oh my gosh, what happened to this woman? So after years of symptoms and 9 different doctors, it wasn't a specialist who gave me the answer to what was happening with my body. It was the esthetician at the threading salon. And you heard that right. After years of living with joint pain, skin reactions, insomnia, urinary incontinence, and increased A1C level despite recent weight loss, and brain fog so thick that I could no longer compensate for my dyslexia, and then even tooth sensitivity, I awoke one morning with dark, fine hair covering my cheeks and neck. And I also had an IUD, so I didn't know when my last period was. And that meant I had no clear sign that I was in menopause and just a growing list of symptoms that no one seemed able to connect. And at the salon, because I was at the threading salon because I had developed all these allergies, and I was like, how can I remove this hair without chemicals? So at the threading salon, the esthetician who was threading the new beard that I had seemingly developed overnight said to me, she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, oh, honey, it's the hormones. And in that moment, I had equal parts relief and rage. And relief was because I finally had the root cause of what was likely causing all these things to happen in my body, but also rage because I didn't understand how so many providers, and I will give you the list, my PCP, my GYN, a urogynecologist, an allergist, a dermatologist, an orthopedic surgeon, a physical therapist, a dentist, and a periodontist. How could all of those people see what was happening in my body and not understand or connect those dots? Okay. So the journey was brutal for me. I first went to my gynecologist's office because I awoke one morning. Everything seemed to happen to me when I woke up in the morning with pajama bottoms that stunk. And I thought perhaps that smell was a vaginal odor. And I showered, I went to the doctors, and they didn't detect an odor, but they, just said, oh, we'll do a swab just to be on the safe side. They sent that to pathology. Everything was normal. So I was sent on my way. When it happened again, I realized that odor wasn't vaginal odor, it was urine. And it wasn't just happening at night anymore. I started leaking urine when I coughed, when I sneezed, when I laughed, and sometimes when I just thought about peeing. So I had this misbelief, this misunderstanding of what happened with women's bodies. I thought that only women who had babies had that leaking, cough, sneeze, pee thing. I didn't realize that a woman who hadn't had any babies could have that happen to them. And so I got a news flash. It happens to women who are experiencing something called genitourinary syndrome of menopause. And no one ever mentioned that to me before. And at my gynecologist's office, I was told that hormone therapy could help, but I wasn't a candidate and would not be prescribed systemic menopause hormone therapy because I have a gene mutation called factor V Leiden, which predisposes me to blood clots. They referred me to a urogynecologist, and I was really hopeful that they would help. They gave me a prescription for pelvic floor physical therapy, but they denied me vaginal estrogen because of my factor V Leiden. And that's vaginal localized estrogen. I was denied that as well. Then came the beard. So I was horrified. I sent photos to my doctor of my face covered in this facial hair. I did that through the patient portal so they could see what I was seeing. And the reply I got back was that it couldn't have happened overnight and I must not have noticed. And I want to be clear when we talk about me, okay? I'm vain. I don't make any apology for that. This is not my natural hair color. My eyeliner and my eyebrows have permanent makeup tattooed on them. I have Botox. I have fillers. I have veneers on my front 4 teeth, mostly because I fell off my bike when I was a kid, but really because I wanted to have a nice smile. So I invest time and money and care in maintaining my appearance. I am in the mirror. I see my face every day, and I know when something changes. So to be told that I must not have noticed was insulting. It was dismissive. It was gaslighting, and that happens to so many women. So here's where the rage came in. I had been suffering for years. I had spent thousands of dollars on treatments, on copays. I had missed work. I had gone from doctor to doctor, dragging myself to those appointments while feeling exhausted and anxious and leaking urine every day, only to be told in a message through the patient portal that I must not have noticed hair on my own face. It felt like the entire system was designed to waste my time, drain my bank account, and keep me feeling like garbage. And that is not an acceptable standard of care for half the population. That rage became fuel. And I decided that if no one was going to fix this for me, I was going to have to fix it for myself and for every woman who came behind me. So I had a friend visit from London because life still went on. And she casually mentioned the estradiol gel she was applying to her skin for her perimenopausal symptoms. And then she volunteered that she also had factor V Leiden. And she explained to me that transdermal estrogen was safe for us with factor V Leiden. And that was contrary to what the doctors had told me. So I did what many women are forced to do. I became my own researcher. I dove into the medical literature. I found multiple sources confirming that transdermal estrogen did not carry the same clot risk as systemic or oral systemic estrogen. And then even my pelvic floor physical therapist became part of my research team. She helped me source the guidelines confirming that transdermal estrogen and specifically vaginal estrogen was safe for almost all women, specifically vaginal estrogen being safe for almost everyone, even those with clotting disorders. And then I tried to get help. I tried to get into the local midlife and menopause clinic that accepted my insurance and practiced evidence-based care. The wait time, over a year to get a call back to make an appointment. my primary care physician. I went to him with my laundry list, like, this is what's happening. I wanted to be heard. And he just stopped me and he said, oh, you need to go see this doctor. He referred me to a hormone specialist, I'll put that in air quotes, in an affluent area. And when I learned of her pricing structure, she wanted $3,500 to see a patient and develop a treatment plan. She didn't take insurance. She only prescribed compounded, non-FDA approved, a practice that's not evidence-based. Okay, that was the way she practiced, and I became disgusted, and I never went to her. I could not justify supporting a model that further divides the haves and the have-nots, offering care only to those who could afford to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket. So just to be clear, it was $3,500 up front. And then every month you would have these incremental tests and you would have these hormones that were going to cost hundreds of dollars a month. And that is just not a sustainable model for the average person. Eventually, in March 2024, I found a telehealth provider where I could get a very quick appointment, and they prescribed evidence-based medicine, FDA-approved hormones. And almost immediately, my symptoms started to subside. My incontinence disappeared. That was a combination of the hormones and pelvic floor physical therapy. I began sleeping through the night. I hadn't slept through the night unaided in years. My night sweats stopped, and my A1C dropped. I started to feel like myself again. And so I mentioned I come from a family of advocates for underserved populations fighting for equity, whether in human rights, education, healthcare, or access. It's in my DNA. So when I realized just how broken this menopause care system was, I knew I couldn't stay silent. So advocacy for me wasn't an option. It was, again, a responsibility. My experience made me realize that if this could happen to me, someone resourceful, persistent, willing to advocate for herself, it could happen to anyone. And we had Halle Berry, who's a celebrity here, go in and testify and go on media talking about the kind of problems that she had as well. She was misdiagnosed with herpes. So this is happening to women regardless, across the socioeconomic lines, etc. Women are just systematically gaslit and dismissed. So that was the spark that led to the creation of the Whiny GYNie, a menopause information company designed to deliver honest, practical, evidence-based information from the patient perspective. I am not a doctor. And the name, I just want to really illustrate where that came from. There's a popular menopause doctor who volunteered in podcasts, in her content, everywhere she's talked. She volunteered that women presenting with symptoms that doctors didn't know how to handle were often dismissed or referred to as whiny women or WWs. And because I need confirmation for everything, I reached out to a surgeon friend of mine and I said, is it true that women who have these symptoms are called whiny women or WWs? And she kind of flippantly responded, oh yeah, Whiny GYNie. And that is how the name came about. So the Whiny GYNie is leveraged to stop the weaponization of this moniker against women. It's being reclaimed to turn an insult into a banner of advocacy so that women won't ever be dismissed or diminished in the same way that I was and that many other women have been. So my story is not unique. Millions of women are suffering silently or not so silently if you're on social media. And it's not because menopause is inherently unbearable, but because the system isn't designed to support us. In the United States, fewer than 20% of OBGYN residency programs include formal menopause training, and many primary care providers get no training at all. This knowledge gap has created a vacuum, one that the supplement and wellness industry has eagerly filled with expensive powders, pills, and potions that have no scientific backing. Women are sold hope in a bottle, and too often it's nothing but snake oil. This forces women to spend thousands of dollars, miss work, and risk their health with unregulated providers who are stepping in to sell these unproven solutions. Meanwhile, employers lose an estimated $6,000 per year per employee in lost productivity when menopausal symptoms go untreated. And that's why testifying in support of Massachusetts House Bill 2499 has been one of my most rewarding experiences, helping to frame legislation that will impact women for generations to come is not only gratifying, it's likely more gratifying than any award I received for my 26 years in digital media, which is my regular profession. To now be considered a resource for evidence-based information is hard work, but it's work I'm happy to do because it means women are finding a trusted place to start. I actually have a menopause transition guide on my website for anyone who registers for the newsletter. They automatically get this menopause transition site. So I just want our transition plan. I just want to say that I have a call to action. It's a call to action for women, for doctors, and for corporations. So for women, I want you to demand evidence-based care. You deserve to feel well and thrive. For doctors, I implore you to specialize in menopause care. Learn the science. Women are waiting for you. And for corporations, treat menopause like maternity leave or any other thing you deal with in the workplace because your bottom line depends on it. And because menopause is not the end of a woman's value, it is a test of whether or not society values women at all. So I'm so happy to be here, Gertrude. I think there's a conversation that absolutely needs to happen. And I'm just super excited to move this forward.
Wow, what a journey you have been on. But what I love is you have done something with this journey. You've transmuted it into something powerful, meaningful, and you took back that negative words that are used against women our age. I absolutely love what you're doing, Andrea.
Thank you.
So, what was it like navigating the multiple specialists without any answers? And if you could go back to that point in case somebody's in the middle of it right now, what would be the best way to go about it?
Yeah. So for me, I was sent to specialist after specialist because they operate in silos. So you go to the orthopedic because your knee is a mess. You go to the dermatologist and the allergist because all of a sudden you're having these reactions. You go to the dentist because, your tooth is sensitive, but then they send you to the periodontist. So everybody was operating for me in a silo. And I didn't have the knowledge or education, and neither did my providers, to understand that there are over 30 recognized symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, but more likely like 100 symptoms. So if you were to understand what the different myriad of symptoms could be and understand that it's not only a hot flash, understand that it's not only rage, understand that it's, not only insomnia, that you could be in everybody's menopause transition is different. You could have just, a smattering of these symptoms and understand based on your age and where you are with whether or not you're cycling or not, whether this could be happening to you. And if you're like me and you had an IUD, maybe understand that if you got your FSH levels tested, then maybe you could understand if you were in menopause or not. That would be what I would say. Just understand the symptoms so that you're not being treated in a silo.
Yeah. Well, just understanding your own body is so important.
And our mothers didn't talk. My mother had a hysterectomy very early because she had terrible endometriosis. And so she didn't have a traditional or a standard menopause experience that I experienced. I was in college when she was really going through that. So I wasn't home. I wasn't there to see it. My grandmother, I guess, had always been on estrogen, but it's just never something we talked about. And my mom's sister had a hysterectomy. My cousins didn't know what their mom's experience was either. So we really just didn't have a good baseline of information. And certainly no one was talking about it. My PCP and GYN didn't bring up the topic for sure.
Yeah, I think women need to make these conversations mainstream with our daughters, our granddaughters. Now, can you explain how your gene mutation influenced your treatment journey?
Yeah, so factor V Leiden is a hereditary gene mutation. It predisposes you to blood clot. And I had no idea that I had factor V Leiden. I had been on oral synthetic birth control, which is quite dangerous for those of us with gene mutation like factor V Leiden. There are some others, protein S deficiency. There are others. I found out that I had factor V Leiden after I had had a lot of surgery, which is when clots would have been really dangerous for me. I found out because my father had a DVT while traveling. And so he had a DVT. And so he has been on blood thinners forever. And he got a new PCP who said, let's see if we can get you off these blood thinners. Let's do some blood work. And they found out that he had both factor V Leiden and protein S deficiency. And now I had been tested for protein S deficiency because very sadly, I had a young coworker who started birth control pills, and she ended up with an embolism and she died. And so as a promise to her mother, yeah, it's a hard story for me to tell, but as a promise to her mother, the rest of us at work promised her we would get tested for protein S deficiency, which I had done many years before. But no one, when I got that test, which I had to lobby for here in the States, they said it's very rare. You don't need. And I said, somebody, and the way I did it was I said, somebody very close to me died as a result of having this. Little did I know my father had protein S deficiency and factor V Leiden. So I got tested. We were advised that I should get tested. My brother should get tested also for factor V Leiden, and I happen to have it. I have it from one side of my family, from my father, so that increases my clot risk. So for me, I should never have been on oral estrogen. And it also means that if I have a surgery or something like that, I need to take a blood thinner. And also the vascular doctor, it's not evidence-based, but my vascular doctor also wants me to take a baby aspirin along with my transdermal estrogen. And since that won't hurt me, I do that as well.
Okay. Wow, you are very, very lucky that all of these little coincidences led to you discovering that you had this.
I am very fortunate. I'm having a knee replacement in December, and my factor V Leiden has been a fairly large part of that conversation. You know, when do I have to stop my hormone therapy, or do I have to stop my hormone therapy in advance of surgery? We have decided that I won't. I will continue with the baby aspirin. And then immediately after surgery, I will not take aspirin, which is their normal protocol. I will go on an Eliquis, which is a blood thinner. It's a, you know, I guess just a more, I'm not a doctor, but like a more advanced or effective blood thinner. I will go on that for a period of time after my surgery. Okay. And the surgeon that I asked about, Whiny Women, is my plastic surgeon. I have another condition which I inherited from my mom called lipodema. Lipodema is a hormonal fat storage disorder that is thought to impact something like 1 in 9 women, and it causes fat deposits, diseased fat cells in your extremities, your upper arms, and typically your lower body. And so when I said I had a surgeon and a lot of surgeries, I had massive amounts of plastic surgery to create typical proportions in my body, because I had what is referred to a two-body syndrome, where I was much smaller on top and much larger on the bottom. And lipodema is the only metabolic disease where your fat is resistant to calorie deficit. So I had plastic surgery to address that. And my plastic surgeon, when I said I have factor V Leiden, because she's retired, so we're friends now. My mom says I collect people, but when I said, hey, I have factor V Leiden, she took a pause for a minute. I watched her face and her like calculation in her head of would she have treated me differently if she knew I had that disorder. And she was very relieved that part of her regimen was to make sure her patients took an aspirin, a blood thinner after surgery. And I had massive surgeries with her. I had a massive debulking procedure where I had 17 liters of fat removed from my waist to my knees, followed by a circumferential body lift and thigh lift and a calf reduction. So I had a lot of surgery over multiple procedures, and not knowing that I had factor V Leiden could have been very, very dangerous for me, if not for the skill of my plastic surgeon always prescribing her patients a blood thinner.
That's just amazing.
It really,
you dodged quite a few bullets here.
I really have. I won't say that I'm a lucky person. I will say that I'm a person who seeks the best care that I know how to seek, and that luckily I was in the hands of very skilled people. And I did. I dodged some bullets. I really did. Yeah.
So what was the turning point that led you to explore the transdermal estrogen?
Yeah. So it really started with consuming content and reading everything I could get my hands on. A book called Estrogen Matters by Avram Blooming, who's a doctor, and Carol Tavris, who's a PhD. That helped me. Following and consuming content from doctors like Mary Claire Haver, Corinne Men, Rachel Rubin, Vonda Wright. I mean, the number of doctors that I've been following. I can't forget Jen Gunter in this, Kelly Casperson in this space, Sharon Malone, really following all that. Plus looking at the Menopause Society guidelines.
Right.
And Louise Newsom out of the UK, how could I forget her? She's where I first learned that transdermal estrogen was safe. That's where I first saw that. And that was my pelvic floor physical therapist, Sarah Gleesman, is the one who suggested I start following Dr. Newsom. Seeing those folks is what prompted me to feel comfortable with transdermal estrogen. I will say, when I called that doctor who charges $3,500 just to be seen, I said to the person who answered her phone, does she treat people with factor V Leiden? And their response was, you'd have to come in. And so when I found the telehealth provider, they said, we'd like to confirm your appointment. Will you be there? And I wrote back, I will be there if you can treat someone with heterozygous factor V Leiden. And they responded with the literature showing the safety. And then I still see that provider because I essentially hoard menopause providers at this point. And I have, because of the work I do, I'm very fortunate to be friends with 3 different menopause certified clinicians.
Wow.
Not many people, I'm very fortunate to have those people in my life. And also I now have my own menopause certified endocrinologist. I cleared with all of those people the safety of transdermal estrogen.
Jeez, that is just
I did the homework. Gertrude, I wasn't going to risk my health. I did the homework.
Now, how did telehealth providers change your access to care? Not many people know that there's another option, right?
Telehealth was a huge difference for me. I want to state that there are telehealth providers with different offerings. I went to a telehealth provider that prescribes, in the States, it's FDA approved, evidence-based medicine. I went to a telehealth provider who sends a prescription to the pharmacy of your choice for your prescription to be filled. Not one that makes it themselves, not one that gatekeeps the hormones and sends them to you. I went to a provider that sends your prescription where you want it to go. And in the US, that means you can comparison shop. It means that the same place you get your blood pressure medicine is the same place you get your hormones. So that's what I did. And when I went on their website, I was able to get an appointment next business day.
Wow.
I started hormone therapy March 11th of 2024. And that day was one of the better days in my life because within weeks I started to feel better.
That is just amazing.
Yeah.
You were very lucky again, but I think you're very vigilant because you've had all of these health challenges in your life.
Yes.
You're vigilant about how you look for information, how you advocate for your own health.
Yes.
Now, how does reclaiming a derogatory term empower women?
What it does is it allows that term not to be weaponized against us. We have volunteer events where everyone is wearing t-shirts that say Team Whiny GYNie. When I testified at the State House, I had a group of women with me wearing t-shirts that said Team Whiny GYNie. And I feel like when a medical professional who has historically gaslit women sees a woman who is empowered and wearing that t-shirt or understanding and stating that moniker, it immediately takes the air out of their sails and it puts it in the woman's. And so by taking that back, we don't allow doctors to mistreat us.
Right.
And they do so not because they want to, but simply out of arrogance and ignorance.
Yeah. That is just amazing. Wow. Now, the other thing that fascinates me about your story, Andrea, I want to know, what role did your advertising background play in shaping your advocacy?
Yeah. So I've run a lot of very premium brands in the advertising space. So I've helped people find their general practitioner, their GP, their PCP, their GYN. I have worked on healthcare clients where I've had to do this. I launched in conjunction with a big ad agency that I worked for. I launched a clinic, a walk-in clinic for a major pharmacy chain. I have had to talk to the household manager, which is the target name for the women I've been targeting in my advertising career for the bulk of my life. That's the woman who is responsible for determining who the doctor is, what care happens, where things happen. She's the decision maker for the household. And typically I'm reaching her as an influential person in the household, but this time I'm reaching her directly. So I've been around some of the best creative people in the advertising space. I'm on the media space, which means my whole world was math, and
Right.
understanding where to place things. But having been in the orbit of very creative people was very helpful to me.
I
Yeah.
love it. I absolutely love it. It sounds like everything you've done in your life has kind of led you to this point.
Yeah. So my father was on a nonprofit board serving the disabled community for 43
Mhm.
years. He was the co-chair of that board for the majority of his tenure. He
Yes.
just recently retired with emeritus status, and I knew I couldn't follow in his footsteps because I didn't have that kind of dispassionate thing. That was, he did human rights and incident review and all these things that would be something that I would be very uncomfortable with. I wouldn't be able to separate
Mhm.
myself from that situation. In menopause care, the people that we're mostly talking to are people who have the ability to advocate for themselves. They have access to things, or they can leverage or piggyback on what I'm doing. So that has been very helpful, right? I shouldn't say this. I doubt that I could reach and do what my father did in the disabled space, the disability
Mm.
space, but I know I can do it in the menopause space. I found my spot. And so, yes, my whole history led to this. And I don't want to discount my mom in this. She was in the PTA. She was the Girl Scout leader. She drove everyone everywhere. Our house is where the sleepovers were. My costumes were handmade, for Halloween and everything. My birthday cake was likely this princess cake she used to make, So together, my parents really, really formed who I am today. And again, for me, advocacy isn't a choice. I'm compelled to do it. It's a responsibility.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you.
Now, what are the three pillars of your framework for menopause literacy? Let's reiterate that so people really
Yeah.
take that away.
So women know the symptoms. Doctors learn about menopause. There are 32,000 women for each certified menopause provider in this country. That is problematic. If you learn, you will have a patient panel immediately. It is not difficult to become menopause certified in the United States. You have to read literature and take a test. And for corporations, be mindful of your employees that are undergoing or going through perimenopause and menopause. They are 20% of your workforce. Please treat them with respect. Our symptoms are not a joke.
Mm.
We shouldn't be the butt of the joke. Some of us are really suffering. Please be flexible and compassionate.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. So let's just finish off with some words of advice
Yes.
to women who could be listening to this podcast right now who feel unheard by their doctors. What advice could you give them? And I know you said there's a gift on your website. Please
Yes.
remind people of that as well.
Yeah, so on the website, on the whinygynie.com, when you register for the newsletter, and we don't spam anyone, but when you register for that, you automatically get a menopause transition guide. It tells you what to do when you're about to make a doctor's appointment. It tells you how to get the care that you need. And it helps you understand, because sadly, most women think that if they go to their PCP or their OBGYN, that they're going to know about this. And the truth is they likely don't have the education. So when I'll give you some of the kind of cliff notes from the transition guide. When you want to talk about menopause or hormone therapy with your doctor, call the office or put in your patient portal that you specifically would like an appointment to talk about menopause and menopause care. And ask, do you treat menopausal women? Is that part of your interest? Okay. And if it's not, can you please refer me to somewhere? Or you can go in the States, it's the Menopause Society. You can go to their website and there's a list of certified providers. There are some other online resources. There are telehealth companies like MIDI Health, which is where I first got my care, and My Menopause RX. There are places you can go that have menopause certified clinicians who can help you. Please only use evidence-based medicine.
Yeah.
Please don't allow anybody to inject anything into your body. Please don't allow them to send you for unnecessary testing and blood work. Menopause symptoms are treated. Menopause hormone therapy is prescribed based on symptom, not on blood work. That is unless you're before 35, okay, where they might want to rule out some other things. You should also have your annual wellness exam. That is the only blood work they should really be considering. They want to see if your thyroid is operating properly. Anyone who is asking you to prescribing required reading, which happened to one of my friends, required reading. Think about if a man goes to the doctor and if he gets required reading before a prescription. I think that doesn't happen. You know, just make sure that you're getting your prescriptions from your pharmacy of your choice and comparison shop. Do not assume that your insurance is going to get you the best rate. That might not be the case. You might need to go to GoodRx, Mark Cuban's Cost Plus Drugs, the Amazon pharmacy, or, you know, you might just be able to get it at a reasonable rate with your insurance, but don't assume insurance is going to give you the best price. And then the other thing I will say is ignore the black box warning on vaginal estrogen. There was an entire FDA panel recently to remove that black box warning. It's inaccurate.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story and your nuggets of wisdom with our community today.
I am so appreciative, Gertrude. Thank you for elevating this conversation, a conversation that's absolutely necessary.
It is, and we will make it mainstream and make sure more women have access to this information. It shouldn't be hidden. It is something that every young woman needs to know before she hits menopause. So thank you for your work. And thank you to everybody who tuned in.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thanks again, Andrea.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.